Hi everybody, welcome. On May the 22nd, we've got a new moon in Gemini at 2 degrees and 4 minutes. Don't usually cover numbers, but this one really jumped out at me. The 22nd of May, so 2 2s, 2020, another 2 2s, and at 2 degrees and 4 minutes. And if you add up the 22nd of May 2020, you get a 4. So we've got 2s and 4s here. 2s have everything to do with teamwork, relationships, cooperation, collaboration, diplomacy, romance. 4 has to do with practicality, organization, working, hard work. It also has to do with service. So just, I'm an astrologer, not a numerologist, but just to give you a flavor of, I think, maybe some of the messages that this new moon has in store for us. So at the time of this new moon, we've got 6 planets in mutable signs. Mutability. Well, there's been talk about COVID-19 mutating, changing in order to survive. Where do we need to change in order to survive? Where do you need to be more adaptable? This is the question I've been asking myself. Where do I really need to learn how to be more flexible? And the new moon in Gemini gives you an opportunity to spread your wings. Gemini rules your arms, your hands. And there's a lot of Gemini energy at the moment, with Sun, of course, in Gemini, Mercury, Venus retrograde, all this Gemini energy. It's time to be light, to be like a bird, to learn how to communicate in a very gentle way, because Venus in Gemini retrograde from the 13th of May until the 25th of June, also playing into this new moon energy, has everything to do with how kindly do you speak to yourself? Are you thinking kind thoughts about yourself, or are you saying, oh, I was stupid, I shouldn't have done that, I should have done this differently? And then equally, how kindly are you thinking about other people? Gemini retrograde is asking us to go inside. Retrogrades are always inner work, not external work. And look at ways in which you love. And how can I create more loving thoughts in my life? More loving actions. I'm reminded of this beautiful quote by Mahatma Gandhi, who said, happiness is when what you think and what you say and what you do are all in harmony. And that's really the message of this new moon in Gemini. So at her temple on Mount Olympus, Venus has got 2 fountains. One has got sweet water that attracts love, and the other has got bitter water that attracts hate and not anything that is not loving. So we're seeing that in our world right now, these polarities, tremendous polarities, and we're fighting in these polarities. But if black suddenly decided to say white shouldn't be around, or the right hand said that the left hand shouldn't be around, it's like we're fighting in the same body. Gemini, the hands again, bringing the hands together. How can we accept that we all have different perspectives, but not fight one another for those perspectives? These are just questions, because Gemini is the why sign. Why this, why that, why the other? Great time for asking more questions. And chances are you're going to ask more questions. because at the time of this new moon, we've got Mars square to the sun and moon in Pisces. So you might be confused as to which action to take. It might be very confusing, as one government may do one thing and another government doing another thing. So you may find yourself saying, oh, what's true? What's not true? These questions coming up time and again. Mercury, ruler of Gemini, is conjunct to Venus, and these two are square to Neptune. So it's going to be quite a discerning job as to who's telling the truth. Can I trust my intuition? Can I trust my intellect? And the square is pushing you to really look at both, not just the thinking mind, but also what am I feeling? What feels right here? So many people are feeling that this is a whole conspiracy to get us to be obeying the higher orders, the higher echelons. But many are seeing that this is something that's absolutely real that we've got to deal with. So are you allowing too many of these conspiracy ideas to overwhelm you and to frighten you? Are you making an excuse that you're confused when in fact you do know what you need to do in your daily life? And at the same time, tuning in and trusting and asking that divine guidance that goes beyond that sort of thinking monkey mind that says, this is really where you need to be, what you need to be doing. These are the kinds of things to be thinking about. The most important thing with a new moon in Gemini is to really look at the words that you're using to speak to others. And I think that this whole COVID-19 is teaching us that we've got to learn how to be kinder to one another. It's taken us into a separation. It's taken us into isolation to rethink. Retrogrades are going on all year to begin to rethink. How can I be kind to myself? And then we've got to rethink our relationships with one another. That's what I think this new moon is triggering. New thoughts, new ideas. It's trying to Saturn. So it's a wonderful time for coming up with new possibilities, new ways in which we can organize our social structures. Air signs involve socialism. So the way that we interact socially, the way that we create our financial systems. Goodness, that's up for some very big changes, more and more. And I'm going to do separate videos on the financial because it's a big area on its own. And I'm reminded of my lovely auntie, my 98-year-old Auntie Jenny in Manchester, who was thrilled to bits when her postman didn't have any mail for her, but rang the bell, stood back and said to her, "Is there anything you need?" And she said, "Well, as a matter of fact, if you can get me a tin of syrup, that would be great." And she didn't think any more about it. And the next morning, on her step, was a can of syrup. And the postman again standing back, saying, "I think this is what you needed." "Well," she said, "well, I never." And she rushed off into her freezer and gave him 8 cakes that she baked the day before. And he was proper thrilled with that. And he said, "Oh, I'll enjoy this with my cup of tea later on." So just this attitude of giving, the loving kindness, this is really what this new moon in Gemini is triggering. So let's think about these little acts of kindness that we can do in our community, in our neighborhoods, because Gemini is very much about your close neighborhood. So thank you very much for listening. I hope I'm inspiring you here. I hope that you join me for my live streams. I live stream every 2 or 3 days at the moment. Of course, that could change. We've got to get flexible. I just want to thank those of you who join me on Patreon. Thank you very much. And we are moving into a new world here, and we've got to really come up with some new and creative ideas. So you're a part of my community, my bigger community. So anything that you put here in the community tab on my website, I do read it, and I do my very best to answer everything. I have to say I'm a little overwhelmed at the moment, so I hope you'll just be patient with me as I go through things. Bye for now. Hi everybody, and in my excitement, I forgot to share with you the 2 paintings that came through with the Pleiadians for the new moon in Gemini. So here they are. Here's number 1, and here is number 2. And I hope you enjoy them. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.